Welcome back. This is part 2 of needle felting a mouse. The next step is to focus on wrapping the tiny toes, the fingers and the tail. So to do this, I've got some merino wool that I've blended into a colour that I'm happy with. I've got the armature that I made in the last video. And I'll be using some Mod Podge, but PVA or craft glue can also be used instead of this. I'm going to demonstrate this step on one of the back feet just because they're a little bit bigger, so it's going to be a bit easier to see. So to start off, I just like to separate the toes so that it makes each one easier to work with. So I'll work with this one first. And I've just poured a little bit of the Mod Podge onto the lid, which I'm going to be using. And now I'm just going to take a piece of merino, and then you want just a really fine wispy piece. You don't want it too thick. When wrapping, less is more, especially when doing tiny fingers and toes. So just stretch that out so it's a nice thin piece, and just place that to one side. And then I'm going to dip this little toe into the Mod Podge. And the next step is simply just starting to wrap the wool around the toe. Then when you get to the end, I like to press it in just to make sure that it's secure, and then start wrapping back down towards the base of the toe. And then you can wrap this as many times as you like, but I think once up and once down is enough for my personal preference. So I just pull off the end and wrap that around. And to secure the toe a little more, I just take my fingers and dip a tiny bit of glue or Mod Podge and just gently press it on the tip of the toe and twist it round. And this just helps all the fibre to stay in place so that there's no wire sticking out. And then you just repeat this step for all of the toes. I've now finished wrapping all the 5 toes. So the next step is just pressing the toes back together to form the original shape again. Like so. And then once you've done this, I'm going to use some more Mod Podge, and I'm just going to place that at the base of the foot and up towards the ankle. And again, taking a thin strip of wool, I'm going to start wrapping from the base of the foot towards the ankle and back down. And then once you're happy with the shape, I just took the last piece of fibre around the little toe. And then I'm going to felt this into place. And once that's finished felting, you should have something along the lines of this. So what I'm going to do now is take another small piece of wool, but instead of felting it straight onto the project, I'm going to felt it onto the mat first. Just a very small piece. And I'm going to gently pull at the edges just to make it really fuzzy. And then I'm going to felt this over where the toes are, just to kind of hide the lines a little bit and blend it in a bit better. And then that is your paw. So you're just going to repeat this step for all 4 of the paws. Once all 4 paws are completed, we're going to start wrapping the tail. I've now finished wrapping all the fingers and toes, so we've now got 4 pink paws ready to move on to the next stage, which is the tail. And for the tail, I want it to be slightly thicker at this end, going to a very thinner point at this end. So what I'm going to do is wrap, starting at this side, wrap all the way down, fold it back, and then start wrapping up again, using a bit more wool towards this end. So using the Mod Podge again, like we did with the fingers, gently coat the tail. I find it's a lot easier to work in smaller sections and then just do more as you go. And using the same colour wool, start wrapping. And then again, same as before, a tiny bit of Mod Podge just on the very tip of the tail to keep everything in place. So the next step once you've wrapped the tail is to start wrapping the head, the body and the legs. I personally prefer to start with the legs, but because I'm wrapping straight onto wire, I like to use some of this. And this is felting wax from Mum's Makery, and it just helps the wool stick to the wire a bit better, so it's not twisting and turning around as you're trying to felt it. So I just simply take some of this, rub it on the wire, and then this is ready for me to start applying the wool. The wool that I'm going to be using for the main wrapping is some core wool from Simply Felting, formerly known as Fuzzy Wuzzy, but this wool is absolutely brilliant and I would recommend it for anyone, whether you're a beginner or an advanced felter. It's so easy to work with and it's absolutely brilliant for building up shapes. So I would highly recommend this, and I will pop in the description again where to get it from. So I just take a really thin piece of this, don't want it too thick, just nice and thin, and then I'm going to start wrapping the legs, starting from the ankle. I'm not too worried about building up any shapes on the legs at this point. The main goal is just to wrap the wire so that we've got a base to work on. So I'm now going to repeat this on the other legs. So once all the legs are wrapped, it's time to start wrapping the head and the body. And this is fairly simple. I start at the base of the neck, wrap around towards the nose, wrap back towards the back of the head and down the neck, and then around the body. And then I'm just going to felt this into place just to keep it all together. At this point, now that the mouse has had the first wraps, you can start to think about positioning the body and how you want it to sit, ready to start building up the body. This one, for example, has been posed into a sitting position. The head, as you can see, is here, comes all the way down, and the spine is placed along here. The arms fold over and the legs come over and curved like this. And then I place a piece of wool on top just to disguise the shape that they're folded into. So positioning can be anything. I'll just show you some examples. This mouse, for example, placed in a sitting position. And of course the one from the start of the video. Or you can have them standing. I think I'm going to go similar to this one today. This one's lying on his belly, all nice and content. So I'm going to start posing this one into a similar position. So to start, I stretch out the legs. And it does look very odd as you're doing it, but it will look a lot better once you start adding the wool. Stretch him all out, and then I'm going to fold the legs round and then straighten out his feet out towards the back. Now this doesn't have to be perfect, just get it to a position that you're happy with, because you can always adjust it as you add in the wool too. Instead of sleeping on his arms, I think I want this one to be awake, with his hands resting on his cheeks. And again, it does look very odd, but I'm now ready to start building up the body. It's time to start bulking out the body and beginning to build shape. So I'm going to start with the back legs, and I'm going to start here at the ankle. So I'm going to take some core wool and wrap it around the leg. And then now I'm at this point of the leg, what I'm going to do is wrap the wool, but instead of wrapping it all the way around, I'm going to pull it underneath through and over the top of the bottom part of the leg. And then I'm going to tuck this bit round the back and then pull it back through at the top. And then I'm just going to pull this off and felt that down. And as you can see, that's thickened up the leg quite a lot compared to this side. So I'm just going to repeat the same on the other side. And that has bulked out both of the legs. So next I'm taking some core wool, and what I'm going to do is wrap it around my finger and just twist it, and this will just help hold it in place a little bit. And then this shape is going to go on the chest and the belly of the mouse. So that's now roughly felted into place, and the beauty about making those little shapes is that you can keep adding more and more until you've got a shape that you're happy with. So I'm going to add a bit more to the belly, but first I think I want to focus on the arms. So I'm going to take a strip of core wool. I'm just going to pull the arm out so I can work with it a little better and just begin wrapping. Now you don't want it too thick, because when we add the final layer of the merino, that's going to add quite a bit of thickness to it as well. So you want to keep, especially the wrist, you want to keep that nice and thin. But you can thicken it up, like bulk it up a bit towards the shoulder. And again, I'm just going to do the same on the other side. So I think I'm going to add a bit more to the belly now. I'm going to add some at the bottom and then also some on the sides, but I'm going to do the bottom first. So same again as before, take a piece of core wool, wrap it around your finger and twist it on just to keep the fibres together. And then this gets felted onto the mouse. So I've got another strip of core wool here, and this time instead of wrapping it, what I'm going to do is fold both the ends in towards the middle, and then I'm gently going to felt it. You don't need to felt it a lot, just a little bit to tack it into place. And the reason I've done it this way is so that there's still a lot of wiggle room to work with, so that I can pull and adjust it as I need to. So what I'm going to do now is place this over the back of the mouse and gently tack that in. Now each side I'm going to felt into place. I'm just going to stretch it out and sort of tuck it into all the nooks and crannies so that I can get a rough view of the shape it's going to give. And this is going to bulk out the sides as well as finishing off and smoothing out the leg area. So I felted this to a point that I'm mostly happy with. I just want to add a little bit more wool to both of the back legs to bulk out the thighs a little. So I just thought I'd show you how I do this. Again, using the core wool, I'll just take a small chunk of it, fold it over, tack it down, and then I stretch it out a little bit, and then I simply just place it over the spot where I want to add the extra wool and just felt that into place. I'm going to repeat the same step for the other side. So I'm quite happy with the overall shape now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep felting until this is nice and firm. And by this I mean here you can see as I push the tip of the needle in, it's still quite soft. Whereas I prefer it to be quite firm so that the needle doesn't go in the wool. And I just prefer it this way because it's a lot easier when it comes to doing the top coat. And it helps it be more durable as well, so that you can do a lot more moving, posing, and it's not going to break down. So I'm just going to keep felting this until it's as firm as I'd like it to be. And here it is, all nice and firmly felted. As you can see, it's quite firm and it's ready to start moving on to the next stage, which will be creating the head, which I will show you in the next video. But again, thank you so much for watching, and I really hope this helps, and I will see you in the next one.